Okay, so what I'm going to do in this first section is I'm going to show you how to get your MyITLab account and make your MyITLab account active. For this course, you must have a MyITLab Pearson account. You can purchase that Pearson code at the bookstore, either online or physically. It comes with an e-textbook. There may be still a couple of physical printed textbooks in the bookstore, but Pearson has gone mostly to e-textbooks, and so that's what this discussion will talk to. You have to have a Pearson account in order to complete this course. If you don't have, all your weekly assignments are done in MyITLab. Your tests are both done in MyITLab. So it's impossible to complete this course without purchasing the MyITLab account. You do get 2 weeks of free activity if you want, and we'll talk about that as I go through the setup. So what we're going to do here is we're going to show you how to actually get yourself set up on MyITLab. The first thing you need to have before you can even start into MyITLab is you need the course code for the course that you are currently taking. Each course will have its own code. The course that you're going to see, the course code you're going to see here is the one that I'm going to be using for Comp 1390 in January 2022, but I have two sections or two groups. I've got face-to-face sections and I have an online sections. Those are two different courses. They have two different course codes. If you have a different instructor or if you're taking Comp 1332 or Comp 6037, you would need to go to get the course code for that. But it's quite simple to do. You're going to go into Content. You're going to look for a folder called Using MyITLab, so it's here on the left banner, or it's already open here. You may or may not have a link right here that shows you the registration code. This is the course code, Quinn 69369. If I click on the link, there are instructions on how to go through and set up. Sorry about that. But even if you don't have, if even that link is not there, you can still just go to the Using MyITLab and your course code will be identified here or down below. This is talking about the textbook. This is the e-textbook. You can purchase the e-text either online from the bookstore, or you can purchase it directly from MyITLab, although that's not recommended in the fact that it's more expensive that way. You can buy the code at the bookstore. If you go into the bookstore, you'll look for a rack with all of the e-codes. You'll find your course name. You'll purchase that, take it to the cash register, and pay for it. It's about $100 Canadian. There'll be a code on that receipt, but that is not the MyITLab code. That is the Fanshop bookstore code. To convert that code, once you have your receipt, then you would go back into www.fanshopretail.ca. There's a link in there called Course Materials, redeem your course code. You would click on that link and then you would enter the receipt code, and then you would be you would probably be emailed back your actual MyITLab code. The MyITLab code is 5 groups of 5 letters. So this code will not work for MyITLab. It's just to allow you to get the MyITLab code. You can also get this from the bookstore online. So you can go into the bookstore, pay for it. They will email you the registration code, but you still have to go through the steps to convert that code into the MyITLab code. Once you have that code, then you can proceed. So at that point, once I have that code, write it down. So Quinn 69369 for Comp 1390 January 22 face-to-face. And then I'm going to go to MyITLab. So you can simply type in MyITLab in Google and then click on the link. As long as you it'll bring you to this screen. Once you have yourself set up, you would simply go into the sign on to get set up, or to access and use MyITLab. We're actually going to go through the setting it up. So your email address, you can use your Fanshawe Online email address. You can use your personal email. It doesn't matter. The two things to keep in mind: the email address becomes your username, and the second thing is that is the email address that Pearson will use to communicate to you with. So make sure you don't make a typing mistake, because then they won't be able to contact you. Okay. Your instructor ID code or course code, which we've just shown you how to get from the using MyITLab folder, and then your access code. So let's get started. So I have to enter my code. So Quinn 69369. Continue to register. From here, so you want to double check to make sure that this is the correct code, that the name of your instructor is showing here. Depending on your instructor, if you have a different instructor, their name will be here plus the 5 numbers. Just make sure you have the correct code. Over here, now again, if you already have a MyITLab code, let's say you've taken Comp 1332 or you're retaking the course, and the MyITLab code will work for these 3 courses, Comp 1332, 1390, and 6037. So if you took 1332 and you're now taking 1390, there is a chance that the MyITLab code that you purchased for 1332 will still work. What you need to do is go into MyITLab, use your account or use your code to sign on, and then enroll in a course, put in the course code from this new course, and see if it works. And if it works, you're good. You don't have to buy MyITLab again. If it doesn't work, then you're going to have to purchase MyITLab. So this sign-in is just simply your Pearson. So if you've used Pearson for economics or a different course, you don't have to re-sign up to Pearson. You would simply be able to use that existing username and password, sign on to Pearson, and then enroll in the course. This does not mean you don't have to buy MyITLab. You will still need MyITLab you'll still have to purchase MyITLab. If you don't have an existing Pearson account or you can't remember whether you use it, then you can simply create a new one, and that's what we're going to do. And I'm going to create a garbage, let's see here, I'll call it junk email at junk.ca. Okay, don't like that, eh? All right. Okay. So that becomes your username. I'm going to put in a password. Okay, my first name, last name, a security question, and agree to the terms, and then I'm going to create an account. So once I've gone through that, it's going to say, so there it says camjunk@garbage.com has successfully created a Pearson account. So if I already have my MyITLab code, I would simply click here and enter my MyITLab code. Again, 5 groups of 5 letters. I can buy it here, but as I said, if I buy it here, it's 105 US. If I buy it at the bookstore, it's under $100 Canadian. So you're going to save 30 bucks if you just buy it at the bookstore, but it's completely up to you. If you don't have the money quite yet, then you can go down here to create a temporary access without payment for 14 days. Now, keep in mind, depending on the course that you're taking, you may not need MyITLab for the very first week. If you don't need MyITLab, then don't sign up for it until just before you need it, because if I sign up now and I don't use it for a week, well, I've lost 1 full week of my free access. So wait until the last minute, then sign on. That'll give you 14 full days of free access. Now, at some time in that 14 days, you're going to have to buy MyITLab and convert the account from a temporary account to a permanent account. If you don't do that, then after the 14 days expires, not only will you no longer be able to access the account, but your instructor will not be able to see any activity that you've done. So even if you've done activity before it expired, but it expires before your instructor goes in to pull the marks from MyITLab and move them into Fanch Online, your instructor will not be able to see those marks until you've purchased your license. Now, once the license expires, it doesn't mean you no longer have access to MyITLab. You can still get into MyITLab, but when you do, it will say that your access is expired, and it'll open up a spot for you to enter your access code. Once you've entered that code, then you will have full access to MyITLab where you left off. So all the work that you did while it was on temporary will become available to you and allow you to go on from there. So we're going to go to the 14 days, say yes. And then we're going to wait. Okay, so everything is done. We're ready to go into my course. So I'm going to stop this now, and I'll have a second video in a minute that'll show you how to use MyITLab to complete your weekly assignments in MyITLab. Okay, so what we're going to do now is we're going to actually show you how to complete a quiz and a grader in MyITLab. Okay, so we're going to go to my course. Okay, and just FYI, this is, as you go in, you can see now you've got temporary access expires in 14 days, so it'll be 13, 12, and so on. If your account has expired, this will say simply upgrade access, and then you would complete this, you would click this button, enter your MyITLab code, and you're ready to go. And when you do that as well, you'll also have a second box there that shows you your e-textbook. So within MyITLab, what you're going to see are getting started, course materials, grades, and so getting started and getting started is simply this. Now there is something here, there's an option here for setting up MyITLab. That's simply to make sure that your computer will handle MyITLab. So it's checking the version of your browser and some other components to make sure they're correct. So what you should do at the start is try this once when you're in MyITLab just to double check your computer works fine. MyITLab will work with a PC or a Mac. But as you can see, what you'll see in Fanch Online in the Getting Started section, you really need to be working with the latest version of Office 365, which you can get for free as a student. But that'll be covered in your course. Okay, so once we're done that, we're going to click on Course Materials. So this is what you would do each week. You would go into MyITLab, go into the Course Materials, and we're going to complete this practice quiz and grader just to get you started so you can see how it works. But then after that, you're going to go, I'll just show you in PowerPoint. This is what's available to you in MyITLab. So every week in the course, there are videos and PowerPoints that you can look at that cover the content. The course is broken down. Each week, it covers roughly 10 skills in whatever tool you're working with, PowerPoint, Word, or Excel. And those skills are mimicked in the textbook. And you can go through, so if you were to go in here, you can see that there are 2 PowerPoint presentations, and then there are videos of each of the 10 different skills. So you can go in there to go through that. So that's instructional only. Then you're going to have a quiz each week, and you're going to have a grader each week. So we will go back to the course, and I'll take you how to create the quiz, how to work through the quiz, and how to work through the grader. Be aware that for Comp 6037 only, so for Comp 1332 and 1390, the quiz and the grader are both graded assignments. The quiz you can do as often as you want, but whenever you stop, that's the mark that you're going to get for the quiz. The graders, you get 2 attempts each time, and we'll take you through that when I go through it. In Comp 6037, the quizzes are called skill-based training, and they are for instructional use only, so they are not graded. They are graded in MyITLab, but the mark is not carried over to Fanch Online. So those are strictly for your benefit to help you to understand the course content. Okay, so let's go in. We'll start with the quiz, and then we'll go to the grader. So what the quiz is a computer-based simulation of the 10 different skills that are being taught that week. So it will look like Excel or PowerPoint, and I think this one's actually Word, but it doesn't. Let's see here. I'm going to have to shrink this down. just waiting for it to get started here. So, no. There we go. Okay, so in this we're going to be looking at, okay, so Open File Explorer. So this looks like the tool. So each of the quizzes will have 10. Now this one we've only got one, but normally you would have 10 different skills. And below are the instructions for what you're supposed to do. And then as you complete each instruction, it will close that instruction, move on to the next one. So in this one says Open File Explorer. Okay, if necessary, at the top of the navigation pane, click access. I don't even see where that is here, but okay, there's File Explorer. Navigate to the shared folder on the OneDrive. So OneDrive, shared folder. And search the shared folder and all subdivided. Look for a file named Annual Meeting. Nope. Nope. There we go. Annual Meeting. Oops. Okay. And again, we don't need to go through this. I'm just showing. So as you complete each step, it'll show you. But if there's a step that you don't know how to do, there's an option that you have here called Learning Aids that you can look at. So there's read instructions. Well, I'm not going to look at. Watch a video. We're going to look at this one called Practice. So I'm assuming I didn't know how to do that particular skill. Okay, so it's showing me here that I should go up and I'm actually hearing words here. I'm sure you can't hear them in the video, but I would just go through, type in what it tells you to do, and it will step you through the whole thing. So I'm not going to go through it all because it's not important. But you can see you've got 5 attempts, and normally you'll have whatever. And you have accessibility issues, which will do things like allow your wording to be in different languages. You can see it's just loading right now, and so on. So you can just work through that, but as I say, in your quizzes, you're going to have 10 different skills. You can jump around in those skills. You have to go through each skill. Once I'm done the practice, if I wanted to, then I could actually... There's accessibility here. So you can change the language of the instructions to a different language. You can turn on a navigate option and so on. We don't need that. Okay, so once you've done all of that, you're going to work through the 10 different skills, and when you're done, you're done. You click submit, and we're going to say yes, and it will give you a mark. So in this case, I got a 0, but let's take a look at the grader next. Okay, so you're going to have your quizzes, and then you'll also have a grader. So here's a grader. So when you click on the grader, you're going to come up to a screen that says download the starting materials, work assignment, upload, and submit. So it's 4 steps. The instructions here are simply the instructions that you have to complete the grader assignment. This particular one is in Word. When I download materials, I can click here to download the starting materials, which is those are the instructions, which were also available here. Then this is the start file. So this is the Word document that I'm going to work from. And then if there are other documents necessary, then you can download those as well. I don't recommend that you use the download all files option, because if you do, it creates a zip file. Then you have to extract your files out of that. It's easier simply to download one at a time. Okay, so you would download them to wherever you want them to go. Okay. If you're working with PowerPoint or with Chrome, you're going to see the folders down across the bottom. You can't see them and they're off the screen, but it doesn't matter. So now what I want to do is I actually want to complete the grader assignment. So I'm going to open the Word document. These are the steps that I'm going to be working on. So download the file, apply a theme. Then I'm going to type in some text. I'm going to format some text. I'm going to add the picture, and then I'm going to submit my file. So there's just 5 steps. This is just a practice to see how it works. And again, I could have also brought up the instructions. So this is a Word document, which is the same set of instructions. So I could download that Word document and work off of that if I wanted to. I'm going to start my file. So this is the file that we're actually going to do the work on. And I'm just going to move it down a bit so that I can actually work through my instructions as I'm doing this. Okay, so step number 2, apply the ion theme. Okay, so I'm going to do that. This is a little bit ungainly, but okay, so I'm going to apply the ion theme. So I'm going to go to Design, Themes, Ion. Okay, so the next step is click to set. So I'm going to type Susan White, September 12th, 2020, sales revenue. Okay, so first name. Now I'm actually going to make a typing mistake on purpose because I want to show you how to correct your mistakes. And the date, September 12, 2020, I think was the date that I wanted. September 12, 2020, and then sales revenue. Okay. It's a little ungainly, but, and sales revenue. Okay. And then in the type text, I'm going to type this is the memo text. FYI, when you're working with MyITLab, because it's a computer that's marking this assignment, it is very, very particular around spelling, punctuation, and so on. So any MyITLab assignment will specifically identify whether you include or exclude punctuation like periods, commas, and so on. So just be very careful when you're completing your MyITLab assignments that you capitalize, that you use the proper spelling. Remember, it's an American tool, so it'll be things like color will be C-O-L-O-R instead of O-U-R. You have to make sure that you put in the text that it specifically identifies in the instructions. You can cut and paste or copy and paste as well. So just keep that in mind. So what was I supposed to type in there? This is the memo text. With the period. Okay. And I'm going to select sales revenue, bold and italic. So I'm going to select sales revenue. I'm going to make it bold and italics. And then I'm going to add the picture up here. Okay, what's in downloads? Okay. And that's it. So we've done all the instructions. Keep in mind as well that when you are done with your work, you must save it and then submit that saved file to MyITLab. I can't tell you the number of times I've had students that have gone through the whole assignment and then without saving it, they submit the file to MyITLab. As soon as you submit the file, then whatever file you submit is the one that is going to be marked. So if you didn't save your work, then you're going to end up sending back to MyITLab the file that you downloaded from the first place. So you're going to get a 0. So just be double sure that before you submit your work to MyITLab that you save it. You know what directory it's saved in so that you can make sure that you pick it up. I suggest you put your files in downloads or your desktop, or open a folder in your personal folder, documents, somewhere that you know where that file is. Okay, so I am going to go back to my file. I am going to save it. So file, I'll do a save as just to double check. So it's going to be called Quinn using MyITLab Creator Word Example. Sure, that's fine. It's in downloads, and then I'm going to save. Okay, once I have done that, I would go back to MyITLab. And again, remember that MyITLab you can be doing this offline. So once you've downloaded the files from MyITLab, you could close the internet completely and work away on whatever tool, Word, Excel, or PowerPoint that you have to work on. Once you're done, you'll save your file. Then you would go back into MyITLab, so re-sign on to MyITLab, go back to the grader assignment name, bring up this screen that you can see, and click on the Upload Completed Assignment. If you left MyITLab open, depending on how much time you take, sometimes MyITLab will time out and it won't accept your submission. That's fine. Just close MyITLab, reopen it, and submit your file. So I'm going to choose my file. I'm going to go to my downloads. I'm going to find the file that I created. And once I've uploaded it, I'm going to get a message or a pop-up that says success, it's been done, and then I'm going to submit it for grading. Okay. Now, every now and again, MyITLab kind of gets lost, and you're not allowed to click on that button to submit it or to check it. Don't worry about it. Just close the window and come back into this window here. So there's my submission. There's my score, 75%. Sometimes this will say pending. If it says pending, you can simply click on these 3 dots and click on View Submissions to take a look at your results. Regardless of once you've done your submission, once you've got your mark, you can click on the submission and MyITLab will tell you exactly where you made your mistakes. So, I forgot to apply the simple frame to the picture, so I didn't actually read my instructions like I should have. And so I'd have to do that. And of course, the spelling mistake that I made and you can click the little arrow here to see exactly what's wrong. So in this case, it says in the paragraph beginning with Susan White, the text was not set to Susan White because I typed it in as Watt. On the right-hand side here, you can see that I also have an option. So if for whatever reason you're not sure what file you submitted, you can download the file that MyITLab received to double check what you actually sent them. And then live comments report, which is kind of, this is what you've got here anyway. So remember, in MyITLab, you always get 2 attempts on your grader assignments. So I can simply now go back into Microsoft Word, and I can fix those 2 things. So I can change this from Watt to White, and I'm going to apply the simple frame white frame to my picture. So those are the 2 mistakes that I made. I'm simply going to go back into File, Save As, or Save. I'm going to save over top of the original one. And now I could go back into MyITLab and resubmit a second time. So I would simply go back to Course Materials, go back to the grader, and submit a second time. So you always have 2 tries. So don't forget that. Submit, close. So you can still 75. I can click here, View Submissions, and you can see that my second submission is showing at 100%. Okay, and I could have just refreshed the screen. All right, so that's basically all you need to know about getting set up and getting started with MyITLab. Good luck with your course, and we are done.